Hey, man. Bring it on in for some love. Whoa. You seem a little tense. Here. I got just the thing. Give this Nepalese aardvark to you go. I had a Sherpa grind it up and pack it in the foreskin of his uncircumcised camel. Yeah, man, this tea traveled all the way from the Himalayas, and it was blessed by Tibetan monks. Say, you have any saffron or juniper berry powder on you by chance? No worries. I think I have some left over in my Navajo neck pouch. Dude, I know what you need. You ever tried tantric horse yoga? Literally changed my life. No, really, man. It's intense. Super good for your extensors and your vestibular system. Arch your back like this. Put your arms up in prancer pose. Tilt your head back. Take a deep breath in and exhale with maximal force like so. Hey, where are you going?
When you're done trying out the latest health and wellness fads, just know we're here for you. MapsFitnessProducts.com. Fitness products that work.
If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
Inside this episode of the Mind Pump.
Oh, I like that's a new one.
It's inside. For the first 37 minutes, we do our introductory conversation. We start out by talking about Jessica's root canal pain. Oh, my poor girl. And Ease came to the rescue. Now, Ease is a cannabis delivery company available only in California. Sorry, everyone else. But we have a discount code. So if you go to ease.co/Mind Pump and you use the code Mind Pump, you will get 20% off and...
No, $20 off.
Sorry, $20 off and, thank you, Adam, free delivery with your first order. Again, it's available only in California. Then we talk about a new artificial sweetener study. They studied 6 artificial sweeteners, and guess what, guys?
What's that?
They're all bad for you.
Uh-oh.
That's impossible.
Then we talked about Thrive Market and their new offer. Here's the offer. If you go to thrivemarket.com/Mind Pump, you're going to get 25% off your first order and free shipping on orders of $49 or more. We are hooking you up. Then we talk about California's brand new law for publicly traded companies. Is California going full socialism?
Whoa, wait for it.
There you go. Then we talked about exercise and cognitive function. New study came out showing it improved the cognitive capacity of elderly women by 19%. That's a huge boost.
Go work out.
Then we talked about the beginning this week, taking new review winners from both iTunes and Mind Pump's public Facebook page. So check it out. If you want to leave us a review, you can do it on iTunes or you can go to our public Facebook page. Of course, at the end of every week, we pick the reviews that we like the most. They have to be 5-star. And we give out free cool stuff like T-shirts to the winners.
Yeah.
Then we get into the questions. The first question was, which angle is best for flies and presses to help build the muscles that perk up the boobs? I think Adam mentioned Brain FM at that part for some reason. I see it listed up there.
Did I talk about Brain FM?
Brain FM for boob lift?
I don't know. We mentioned it somewhere.
No, it was before the questions. We were talking about the different modalities for improving cognitive function.
Very good, sir. Thank you very much. Brain FM.
Brain training.
Brain FM, you put it in your ears, improve your focus, helps you meditate, can help you sleep. If you go to brain.fm/Mind Pump, you will get 20% off. The next question was, do we have a stretching routine? And if so, when do we incorporate it into our workout routine? Quick answer, no, we don't really do stretching, but we do priming.
Yeah. Let's change the word stretching.
Of course, MAPS Prime, one of our most popular programs. If you go to mindpumpmedia.com, you can enroll in the MAPS Prime program. The next question was, if we were invited to go on Joe Rogan's podcast to debate how to properly work out, who would we want to go up against? Who's someone that we want to debate? We talk about the people who we'd like to argue with in that part of this episode.
Sal called out everybody.
Everybody.
Bring it.
And finally, the last
running
question.
fanatic.
What moment did each of us say, we made it? or has that moment not even happened yet? A little bit of a twist in that question, in that part of this episode. And also, we're giving you what you want. You've been asking for this forever. MAPS Aesthetic, the bodybuilder inspired MAPS program, 50% off. What? Wow. Half off.
Wow.
Because we love
Just
you.
for you guys.
Yeah, I remember when we first launched that program, people went crazy for it.
Yeah.
So if you go to mapsblack.com and use the code BLACK50, that's BLACK and the number 50, you will get 50% off all month long in October. If you're interested in any of our other MAPS programs or bundles, go to mapsfitnessproducts.com. Otherwise, MAPS Aesthetic, 50% off, mapsblack.com, Black50, half off all month long.
It's a big deal.
Do it. Oh, that's Star Wars. Yeah, it's easy.
That's Star Wars?
Yeah, that's the fucking...
It's a cantina scene,
Make
man.
me sick sometimes.
Son of a bitch.
I got disappointed real bad. It made me sick.
It just made me sick.
Dude, yesterday...
Expect better.
Yesterday, poor Jessica, she had to get a root canal.
Yeah.
So they,
Those are never fun.
She's just having a fun month, man.
Yeah, I know.
Fun month for her.
We might as well get it all out of the way at once, right?
My poor baby. So anyway, she had a root canal where I've never had a root canal or anything like that. I've never actually had a cavity, but they drill in your. Have you guys ever had a root canal?
No.
Yeah.
No.
You haven't?
Oh, not a root canal. No.
Okay.
So I got my wisdom teeth
I was
removed.
going to say, what other kind of canal did you get?
A different canal.
Yeah.
They went through a different way.
He puts the anal in canal.
Hey.
So anyway, they drill a hole all the way up through to the root and just drill that fucker out. So it kind of sucks, right? So she did that, and on the way home, her numbing medication is wearing off. Which, by the way, I love seeing people after their faces are all like looks like they had a stroke, from the. So she comes home and she's trying not to. I'm trying to make her laugh because I think it's hilarious. So they drill a big hole in there, lots of pain.
Yeah.
And she took acetaminophen for it, which is Tylenol. Still hurting real bad. So she's like, dude, get me some edibles right now. I need some edibles right now.
By default, do you go to the medical term of a drug instead of using Tylenol? Is that default for you? Because default for me is Tylenol. I wouldn't think...
Or Advil.
Yeah, you asshole.
Ibuprofen?
Yeah, Tylenol's different than Advil.
You know why?
Is that just practicing being a nerd your whole life so that comes natural?
Ibuprofen or acetaminophen.
Well, it's like, you know what it is? It's, okay, so when you call it like tissue paper, some people call it Kleenex.
Right.
Because the brand...
Totally.
The most popular brand.
Totally.
So, takes over.
Like inline skates, rollerblades.
Vicodin, it's hydrocodone, right? So I get it.
Right.
But that's what my point is.
Why do I do that?
Yeah.
Because I don't buy Tylenol. I buy acetaminophen because if you get the generic brand, it's cheaper.
It's cheaper. Yeah.
So I don't go to the store and buy Tylenol.
Of course.
That's all. Has nothing to do with being nerdy. Everything to do with being cheap. So
I don't know which is worse.
Good, yeah, I know. Good excuse. I
it's not that it's worse or better. Just be honest.
Yeah.
So she's like, I need an edible right now. So I'm like, I can't. I got the kids here. And to drive the nearest good dispensary is going to take me forever. Ease to the rescue.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Making it easy.
Yeah, I ordered gummies from Ease. They were 10 milligrams of CBD and 5 milligrams of THC each, because that is probably the best combination for pain. A little like a 2-to-1 ratio, CBD to THC. So she ate the edible in combination with the acetaminophen and felt a lot better.
Do you think that like gummies and chocolates and all that is, going to be a thing still in the future, and it's not just going to turn into pills? You know how like the progression of, pharmacy getting involved, like they're going to turn it more into pills. So
I think they're going to get attacked for sure. I mean,
right?
What other?
It's kind of silly. Like, I mean, some gummies to help my.
What other drug comes in like child candy forms,
Yeah.
Like, fruity flavor, cereal cannabis. They have that too, by the way.
Right.
No, but however, it did come, they're totally taking it to the next level though, because I think that they're foreseeing that legalization, widespread national legalization is coming.
Yeah.
And when that happens, legislators and bureaucrats are going to try to regulate the shit out of it, which I think is a bad idea because it'll just strengthen the black market. But anyway, one of the first things that they're going to go after are edibles. And so when you get these things now, these edibles, they come in these
childproof boxes.
Very unique childproof
It's very
containers.
smart. Some of the companies like Kiva have really done a good job with that, right?
They made a childproof box. It's a chocolate bar. It's funny too because Adam couldn't figure it out. He almost ripped the whole thing in half.
He turned into a chimp just
Dude,
trying to
it's
open it.
like, well, here's the thing too. I mean, we're familiar with like the standard pill bottle,
push down.
Child support things or child, what is it? Yeah, child proof mechanisms, right? Whatever the fucking word I'm looking for that.
Gizmos.
What do you call it? It's a mechanism.
Doodads.
That works.
Yeah,
that works.
It works, right?
Yeah.
It works.
Thingabobbers.
Yeah, thingabobbers is where I was going.
Go
with that.
thingabobbers. I like thingabobbers.
But we're used to that. You've seen it forever. But this cardboard box, it's like you stick your two fingers in one side, you pull the other way, the opposite direction, and then it's super confusing.
But it's
I had to
smart.
Google that shit just to
you
get it
gotta
open.
get instructions.
Well, bro, it's smart though because think about it. Like this is why I have a lock.
Yeah, no kid is getting in that. In fact, 50% of the adults are in the same boat. I'm trying to Google it.
Well, I think I have a lock box. If I do store edibles at all, I have a box with a combination lock on it. In fact, my friend calls it a stripper box. Apparently, strippers travel with those when they do.
Interesting.
Yeah, they have a lock box. Anyway, so it's in there because I can only imagine leaving out a chocolate edible.
Right.
My 8-year-old daughter for sure is not going to say anything. She's just going to eat it.
Yeah.
She's not going to be like, hey.
Ooh, it's a chocolate ball. They just think candy.
Yeah, she's
right
going to be like, hey,
away.
Dad, can I have some? She's going to be like, eat it. And then afterward, pretend. Hopefully he won't find out.
Like,
Why is my daughter sleeping? Hey, wake up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think that they're really trying to foresee what's happening and set themselves up in a way that will keep them safe.
Oh, it's very smart.
The one knock I have on them right now is they're not everywhere because I get DMs almost every day right now.
Ease?
Yes.
They have to be careful.
So I drive them back over to the Ease people and say DM them or email them.
You just got to live in a cooler state.
California.
I feel like if they're not
Are they not in
everywhere.
Colorado?
No, I don't think so.
They will be.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I know.
I think it's just California. But I wonder why they wouldn't do separate divisions or something in different states,
What do you mean?
Like they have an Ease in California, then they'll open an Ease in
plant
Colorado.
a new company, basically, in a sense, in Colorado.
There's something about why that doesn't happen. For example, Kiva, which makes, I think, the best mass-produced mainstream. You could tell this thing. I mean, it looks like you would buy it, at a local grocery store. How well it's produced. Mm-hmm. I don't think Kiva bars and stuff exist in like Colorado, and I didn't see them in Washington.
Yeah,
when we were up there, and I think maybe certain states have different laws. Like if it has to be headquartered and produced and grown here for it to come out of here, and
it's probably a really complex process. Yeah.
It's probably just too expensive for them to even worry about
exactly.
it. So anyway,
I'm sure when it goes full rec, they'll be. They're poised to be the major delivery service for all medical marijuana or recreational.
Well, so
it'll be the
marijuana.
Uber for sure.
Well, I was just going to say, here's why I think companies like Ease will explode. It's not necessarily because people want weed delivered to the door, although that's part of it.
It's the work. It's the people. It's another job like Uber.
Well, no, I know that, but here's why I think it's going to spread so much. And again, I don't think it's because people just want someone to drive to the door and deliver weed, although that's part of it. I think a big part of it is what's happening with a lot of these states with the legalization is they regulate these dispensaries so much that they're not all over the place. So to get to the nearest dispensary, it takes you 20 minutes or whatever. And so what these delivery companies do is they've created a market for delivery companies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To where if you live in a certain part of California where some cities don't even have dispensaries because they make the regulations so silly that if you live in a city where you don't have one, but the next city does, maybe you could have someone come and deliver it to you. Right. And so I think that's why there's a market, there's going to be a market for something like that. And I think it'll blow up, Maybe we'll have self-driving Ease cars at some point.
Right.
Should be kind of weird, right?
You get that and like DoorDash combo, you'll be like,
oh God, order your.
Can you imagine? That'd be so awesome.
Your guy rolls up with your 2 pizzas and your eighth of weed.
And my pre-rolls. Thanks, pal.
Oh, the future looks great. The future looks
beautiful.
good.
It's a beautiful landscape.
Dude, did you see there's a new study that was done by the way, I'm not surprised by the study, but whatever. This was done by, let's see, let me read who did this. They studied 6 artificial sweeteners, including aspartame and sucralose. Okay, so they tested all of them. Researchers from Israel and Singapore said that their findings offer further evidence that artificial sweeteners can damage health. So what they found was, including aspartame, So they did aspartame, sucralose, saccharin, neotame, advitame, and ace sulfame potassium K. They found that all of them damaged gut bacteria, that caused issues with the gut bacteria and killed good bacteria, and that toxins are released when gut bacteria are exposed to artificial sweeteners in the lab.
At what levels, though?
Good question. We don't know. But here's the deal. Who cares? You know why? Well, you're right. You should care about that. But
because if you have to do 3 pounds of it in order to elicit that, that's kind of whatever.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll look deeper into that. However,
sorry, I didn't mean to challenge.
No, that's good. That's a good thing that you said that. So it's a good thing to know. However, part of it is the length of time that people consume these things. You know what I mean?
Right.
So because they consume it daily for
we
years.
all agree that no matter what. I mean, I think if we're starting to see stuff point in this direction, that you should caution how much you're consuming this, because regardless of what the previous studies that I know people tout that are pro artificial sweeteners, you know, they use it's totally safe as long as you're doing less than 30.
It's obviously not harm-free.
Yeah, 30 diet sodas a day. It's the only way it'd be harmful. It's like, well, you may not do 30 a day, but who's to say if you do 3 a day for 5 years straight, what does that look like? You know, so.
And it's hard to study. It's hard to study such long things.
Yeah, I get it.
And they're proving that it does affect your microbiota, so that's something to be concerned about.
There's that. There's also that, like sucralose, for example, they found was being stored in fat in people. Sucralose, they used to say, oh, no, it just goes through your body. They're finding that metabolites are being stored in fat.
Oh, right.
There's studies associating artificial sweeteners with dementia, Alzheimer's. No super hard connections. But when you add up this wide amount of data, you kind of got to shrug your shoulders a little bit and go, okay, well, maybe we should probably not consume this all the time. Because I know people in our space, in fitness, probably I would have to say hardcore fitness fanatics probably consume more artificial sweeteners than anybody, I would guess, right? Because protein powders,
I would think
pre-workout, post-workout, bars.
And a lot of times they're in like lower calorie options, so that's where they gravitate towards.
Well, I think that's the reason why we talk about it, because I think if you're just the average person who has the occasional diet soda, or you use a sweetener in your coffee every now and then, I think you're at less risk than this, like you said, the trainer like us. I mean, there was no doubt in my mind on any given day in the first 10 years of my career could have been filled with 2 protein bars, a protein shake, 2 energy type of drinks. Like, I mean, that was a staple day for me. In fact, it would be less likely that I wouldn't have all of that in a single day, and sometimes a little more, So,
well, and two, I think that because of the information that like the general public is getting now about the dangers of sugar, specifically, I feel like a lot of products, have emerged as far as like the main labels are no sugar, right? And so like somebody, just your average person, would go to gravitate towards like an energy drink that says no sugar and it's all like artificial sugars.
There's some government agencies that are advocating for sugar-free, artificially sweetened like strawberry milk in schools, because they're like, oh, we need better health food. Right. Let's give them milk.
Like, I think that's a healthier option.
Yeah, like, oh, we're going to give them just sugar-free strawberry flavored milk, and that's going to be better for them. So and the thing is, I think you're right, Justin, but I also think that the market for non-artificially sweetened products has exploded. That's one of the reasons why we see the explosion of companies like like Whole Foods, and then of course Thrive Market, who delivers. They're the largest retailer of non-GMO organic products online.
Speaking of Thrive Market, Doug, didn't they change their offer recently? What's their new offer that they're doing right now? Sorry to get you distracted from what you're doing right there, but
not a problem. 25% off your first order.
Okay, that's a big one.
And there's free shipping on any order over $49.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Got it. So it used to be.
That's for us. That's for our people.
Yeah. There used to be $1. Now they're doing just a straight percentage of which is cool, because if you're actually buying a decent amount of groceries, that'll end up being more money for you.
$100, save $25.
Yeah.
So I know math.
Yeah. Good job.
Yeah, that was
dude,
good.
You know what I was bummed about was we just had Warren Farrell in the studio. Awesome. Interview.
Oh, great.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, what a call out on having him come down here. The guy was just a brilliant man, and the way he articulates his points, it's just, how could anybody argue with it? I don't know how anybody could argue with the man or protest.
I don't know, but there obviously are.
Right, I know there's people that are protesting, but I was bummed that he comes and then literally the article that you sent over to us comes out the very next day, and I'm like, that would have been a great topic.
Which article was it?
That was the one on California making it mandatory for.
Oh my God!
What the?
Can you believe that?
What the fuck?
To have female representation.
California is
the
just
CEO boards.
is seriously like losing their mind. So the law states that publicly traded corporations of a particular size or whatever, I think, must have at least one woman on their board of directors. And it's entirely based on sex. Yeah. So you have to have a female on the board, which I think is extremely condescending to women. Extremely condescending.
Bro, it's so fucked up, and it's so weird that you sent that to me. Did you see the text I sent back to you that I was sitting down with my niece who's 27, and she had her two friends that are same age, and they're from New York. They work for Facebook. And it was a really tough conversation for me to sit there and just kind of bite my tongue. Like, it's the first time I'm meeting them. And it was the first time that I had met there's three of these women, all very independent, powerful women, like very intelligent. All of them have their bachelor's or master's, can articulate their points really well. And listening to them talk about their work environment and counting how many Asian people or Black people or Latino people are working on a group or a team, and we need more of this or we need more of that. Like that's
not realizing that they're literally becoming the exact thing that they think that they're fighting.
Right. And I'm sitting back listening to them go back and forth and talk about their team and their staff and how so-and-so only likes white males and so-and-so says this about. And I'm like, all this victimhood and this pointing the finger shit going on. But at the same time, too, really smart. Not a bunch of ignorant, dumb girls that are just touting a bunch of bullshit. Like, you could tell that they're smart, but the information that they're being fed is like so bad. And I wanted to say something. I didn't say. All I did say was, we talked about this today on the podcast. I said, you guys should check the podcast episode that goes up tomorrow.
What people need to realize is that America has been a capitalist society for a long time. The most important or valued color in this country, and it's genderless too, is green.
Yeah, it's money.
Yeah. If you fucking perform, you are an advantage, and if a company decides not to have you because you're a woman or whatever, another company will, and they'll be an advantage. And we've had this long enough to see this play out. And statistically speaking, when Dr. Warren Farrell even went over some of these statistics, when women with an MBA start their own business, the reason why they start their own business, or the reasons, are very different from the reasons why a male MBA starts their own business. So a male MBA starts his own business typically because he wants to make more money. A female MBA will start her own business because she wants more flexibility with her work hours and wants to be able to do other things besides just work. As a result of that, the female MBAs earn about 49% less than the male MBAs, but it makes sense. Obviously, that's not what they're valuing as their number one value.
Right.
So what you end up having with these people on the board. First off, if you're on the board of a publicly traded company, the odds are you're probably working 70 hours a week. You're probably traveling a lot. It is the top number one priority of your life. Ask anybody who's in that kind of a position how hard it is for them to be with their kids and their family, what their number one goal is and priority. And it's really just ambition and drive to perform at work and make money, which statistically, this is a fact, men place more value on than women do. And it doesn't mean one is better than the other. It just means that we're different. So the pool of women who would be in that position is just smaller. That's why there's less representation, not because a bunch of people are sexist or whatever. And sexism plays such a small role that we can't even, when we control for all these factors, the difference between men and women and earning a lot of stuff, and economists will say this all day long, is negligible. So to make a law that says you have to have a woman on board is condescending both to women and for the companies. Like, what a strange position to look at all your applicants and be like, okay, we have to pick a woman.
How mad are you when you're about to fill up as a CEO of a company? You're about to fill a position on the board that is extremely crucial because somebody's moved on or whatever, and you have all men. You just happen to have all men. You don't have one woman yet, and you've got 3 candidates, 2 of them being men, 1 of them being woman, and the one that's a woman is just not as good. Maybe she's not as experienced. Maybe she's not as talented. Maybe she's not as proven, whatever that may be. And because of this law now, you have to hire her instead of the other 2 candidates that may perform for your company better. And that, it's funny that we're talking this way about women. I would say the same thing with men. I think it'd be stupid for someone to put a law that 1 man needs to be in there.
Yeah.
And then because the exact opposite situation can happen. What if I had to have a man on my board, and in this case I have all women on my board, and I've got to hire 1 more person. I've got 3 candidates, and the 2 guys are better than the girl, and the 2 girls are better than the guy, and I've got to hire the girl or hire the guy, but I wish I could get the girl. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it just points to that whole argument for equal outcome, and how flawed that philosophy is, and it's condescending, it's patronizing, it's women are definitely a powerful force and can be in the workforce and can definitely represent at the CEO level, and there's plenty of them out there to admire, but to force that and to just have them sit in and as a representation of it without like going through the same exact process everybody else.
It's a clearly sexist law.
Yeah.
Clearly,
it is sexist.
Now, a sexist law is one that lists gender in the legislation. In other words, you must hire a female. You must do this with a male. You must do this with a female, which is illegal. Okay, so I don't even know how they're going to uphold that. I can pretty much guarantee you it's going to get challenged because of that. So it's absolutely silly. Imagine if you're the guy who is qualified for the job, but because of this law, now you don't get it. It goes to a woman. Also, imagine if you're that woman. Could you imagine if you're the 1 woman on a board?
Right.
Imagine if you're 1 woman on a board of male directors, and deep down inside, like, well, I know why am I here because I'm good, or am I here because they have to put me here? It's silly. It's absolutely silly, and it's scary that we try to we create things that don't exist, and then we try to, or issues that potentially don't exist, and then we try to create solutions. Which
and I think the intentions are pure. The way they start,
it's
right?
The unintended consequences to these types of
things.
I
think, and we kind of talked about this with Warren, right? I think the intentions are right. Like, I think they're looking at these companies that, maybe intentionally don't hire any women, and maybe there was actually great candidates that were women that should have been put in there, and because of that, this is one step in the direction to keep these companies from being sexist and doing this.
I disagree.
But here's the thing too, though, and I know that argument, and I've heard that a lot. We want more representation, we want more of a female voice, but who's to say that there aren't men that are voicing these concerns, for women, and that there are men that think out there in terms of challenging ideas and all that may present the same exact argument.
I do not think it comes from a pure place at all. Nope, not at all. I think it comes from, I think politicians do it because it's virtue signaling, and it's a great way for your voting bloc to feel victimized and for you to look like the hero. So that's number 1. I also think that if you look at everything through the lens of men are oppressors and women are oppressed, men are strong and women are weak, then it sounds like a good idea. Oh, women are so weak, we need a law to help them. If you think women are weak, then it does make sense. If you think women are strong, then it makes no fucking sense. I wouldn't look at women and say, oh, we need to pass laws specifically that say women need these special things because they just can't compete with us. You know what I mean? And I feel bad for them. I don't think it's pure at all. I think it comes from a terrible place. And I think people are easily manipulated into feeling like victims. And I think when you feel like a victim, you will do what people who purport to help you tell you to do. It's an old fucking game, and it's silly that we're still doing it, and it's sad that we're doing it, and it's terrible. And I think California is we're putting ourselves in a position where we're going to look. California is a monster economically, but we've been bleeding residents for a while now because of some of these insane policies that people are starting to leave. They're leaving in droves, and it's not a good thing.
Does that mean we're going to have 1 woman on our board?
Yeah.
Is that how does that mean?
If we're publicly traded.
That's what I mean. If we were to go public at one point, that means we would have to.
What if one of us identifies as a woman? Does that count?
Ooh, good.
That's a great,
excellent point.
That's a good angle.
We should Rochambeau for who has to do that.
I mean,
you were probably more likely to get the
goes.
sex change.
Who, Justin?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Only because he'd be hot.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So if this goes this direction,
I mean, if you guys think so,
and we don't find a suitable woman to be on our board, then you're going to have to identify as something different.
Yeah. Can help us out.
We'll see how that works.
Dude, so another cool study that was just published, the title of it was The Effects of Strength Training on Cognitive Performance in Elderly Women.
Ooh,
so
nice.
they actually tested cognitive changes in these elderly women as a result of strength training. Now, I've observed personally improvements in cognitive performance in my elderly clients, and I've also noticed the slowdown and decline of cognitive performance in my elderly clients who had things like dementia. 'Cause I've had clients who had dementia. I would do strength training with them, and their decline was very, very slow. Then when they stopped weight training, the decline just accelerated. They found a 19% increase in cognitive capacity through their tests. Now, there's a 58% increase in upper body strength, 68% increase in lower body strength, but then a 19% increase in cognitive capacity.
That's actually a lot.
That's a decent amount for a short study.
Yeah. Right.
Absolutely. Now, here's the argument I'm going to make. Do you think, because I think I can argue this pretty well, do you think compared to other forms of exercise, resistance training is superior for cognitive performance or the same? In other words, if these older women just did walking and running or yoga or whatever, do you think it would notice the same?
Well, you could argue that it presents more variables, with resistance training and weight bearing exercises.
So more novelty,
more neural pathways, and as far as like building strength is concerned, like I know that there's more energy and resources in that direction. So
yeah, I
would agree. That would be my hypothesis.
You could try and argue it the other way of doing like a lot of stability type stuff. I mean, just because you're having to balance and what that
like
would
reactive type neural work.
Yeah, you could. I could see arguing that.
I think it would get the brain to fire, but I think there's still a little bit more variables in substance with resistance training.
Yeah, so I agree with Justin for the like you said, the fact that you're with resistance training is far more complex in terms of movements and balance and angles, and it's very modifiable.
Right.
If you walk, you're just walking over and over again. And anytime you do a new movement and you perfect that new movement, there are new neural pathways that develop as a result, which is good for the brain, right? It's good for the brain to do that. But the other thing too is one of the strongest contributors to cognitive decline is the brain's inability or the declining ability to utilize glucose. It's like they call Alzheimer's and dementia type 3 diabetes, right? And nothing improves the body's ability to sensitize to insulin and to utilize glucose or sugar more efficiently and effectively than having more muscle. You know what I mean? Like if you have more muscle, the way your body will react to insulin improves dramatically, so you don't need more insulin, and your body's ability to uptake and utilize glucose is improved dramatically because muscle is one of the largest tissues in the body that does that.
Yeah.
So building muscle, I think, will have more of that indirect effect as well.
I think that, I definitely agree with that. I also wonder, when you go through like more of a rigorous cardio routine, how you get, carbohydrate and glycogen depleted as a result. So that in terms of like, because like the third, with Alzheimer's, talking about that being like the third
type 3 diabetes.
Type 3 diabetes, thank you. I just curious as to that being, something that's valid, in terms of like cognitive health.
Who was it we were just talking to? Was it Brain FM that was telling us about what like a lot of the sports teams are doing right now where a lot of these athletes are strength training, doing some sort of hand-eye coordination, and then like reading and solving math problems in between.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Who was it? Brain FM? Who was it that we were
I don't
talking?
remember.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you remember that conversation? I can't remember. I can't put my finger on it.
Well, I just know, and I know there's like Z Health. There's like certain modalities that are really popping up that are addressing cognitive training and cognitive function and improvement, of brain health overall. And I think that's like the new wave.
It is
of training that people need to really pay attention to.
Well, I think we've evolved, especially in sports, over the last 20 years, so much in comparison to the previous 20 years. And I think we've got to that point that everybody knows that hard work and practice and consistency and diet all are major key components to success as an athlete. I think more and more kids are piecing this together at a younger age and being consistent through life. And this is why we're getting these superstar athletes. And now the next wave, like you're saying, Justin, is to concentrate more on the cognitive function and actually increasing and improving that amongst the other four keys, really. So that's interesting to me. And I think if you can combine strength training with hand-eye coordination with some sort of math or reading skills all combined together, imagine that.
I think your ability to react and think without thinking is probably one of the most important things I can imagine in sports. And so practicing, hand-eye coordination probably would improve that, I would assume, right? I would assume it improves your ability to think quickly and react versus having to stop and pay attention and think about what you're about to do.
Right.
So it only makes sense. And because the sporting world, the professional sport world is so competitive, obviously it's competitive. That's why athletes get paid so much, because there's so few people that can perform at that high of a level, that when you have that much being invested, when you have an athlete that you're spending millions of dollars a year on, you for sure are going to invest. It's like having an expensive car. You're going to spend every single you're going to do everything you possibly can to improve their ability to compete and perform. And the mental aspect has got to be probably the most important aspect that I can think about. So it only makes sense. But yeah, I think we're entering into an age soon where resistance training will be the recommended form of exercise.
The gold standard.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the one that doctors are going to start telling elderly people, especially, rather than saying 30 minutes of vigorous.
Oh, it'd be a huge win if we could steer people over more into resistance training versus just walking and, giving this sort of, basic, sort of advice.
It'll be interesting to see what that does, how that impacts our business, because where we're at right now and the programs and what we sell and how we monetize. I'm really curious to see if some national news like that will send like a flood of people now searching and out information regarding that, and if we'll actually see an uptick in the business just from news like that.
Nobody's made resistance training. Nobody's really made the case for mainstream application of resistance training. Like, it's still not.
No,
like when most people.
Let's be honest. What we're doing right now, this is part of. So people. We had some questions. I was looking at the Quah today, regarding the success of the business, and one of the things that why Mind Pump was so successful is we didn't focus on the 5 to 10%. We focused on the other 90% of the population, which is because we knew that was most of the people that we were training and helping. When you look at the space, and even some of our friends and peers like that, we absolutely love and adore, like their programming and the stuff that they speak to is for a very small demographic of people. It's somebody who is just into powerlifting or just into bodybuilding. It's like when I look at the thousands of clients that I've trained over the 15 plus years, I go, how many of that have I really trained? Like they're definitely a minority by a large amount.
Tiny, 2%.
So nobody was really addressing programming for everybody else. Like it's really
but
geared.
it's not just programming, it's also just making the case. Like if the average the average person, I'm talking about the average
well,
person.
that's because all the programs like Sal, they're all 5-day, 7-day a week type of programs. And if you're a fucking businessman or woman who has 2 kids and life happens and you don't really care about looking like a cover of a magazine, a program that says 5 days a week or more doesn't sound appealing to you.
But it's even more than that. It's like if you take the average person, the average 45-year-old person who doesn't work out or whatever, and they decide, I need to improve my health, I think I'm going to go run or I'm going to go walk. Like those are the first things that people go towards, in the 1970s, there was a running revolution. There was a book that came out that talked about running, and it literally made running mainstream, because before that it was not.
Dude, here's another reason why you need to watch Anchorman. He's like talking to his girlfriend. We're going to try this new thing called jogging. It's real popular right now. You just run.
I can't believe you haven't watched that, man.
Yeah, I still have to go watch it.
Oh, yeah. No, it's funny because that was, exactly. That became like mainstream. Like that's the way to get fit and in shape. Like that's your...
Can we get to
There's the book right there, The Complete Book of Running. That started a trend where the average person now decided that if they wanted to work out or get in shape, that they would go running. And I think that needs to happen, or it's starting to happen with resistance training. Resistance training still is not mainstream. Like the average person, when they think, I'm going to go start working out, they don't think I need to go lift weights at all. They think I'm going to get on a treadmill or get on a piece of cardio.
Yeah.
It's still not mainstream, but it needs to be. And it's funny, I got interviewed earlier on Paleo Magazine, and Ashley, the interviewer, great podcast. She did a phenomenal job. And we got into a little bit of a debate and discussion over paleo diets, and how in the past we've said that, sure, paleo diet's probably healthier for most people, but we're not cave people today. Modern life is different. And, cave people ate bugs and sticks and animals and shit that, tendons and stuff that we don't eat today. So we got into a little bit of debate about it. And so I tried to explain why I think paleo probably generally for most people better, but why it's might not even still be ideal. And one of the main reasons why, and I love talking because it helps me get this is how I think. And so I think I made a really good point. When you look in the context of paleo life or hunter-gatherer life, it's a massive advantage to have a thrifty, efficient, slow metabolism. It's a huge advantage. You're moving a lot, and you don't have food accessible all over the place. You want a slower metabolism. That's what makes it easier for you to stay alive. If you have a super fast metabolism, you're fucked, because food is hard to come by, and you're walking and running and doing all kinds of shit all the time. In modern life, it's the opposite. Having a thrifty, slow, efficient metabolism is a massive disadvantage, mainly because we don't move a lot, and because food is everywhere and it's easily accessible and it's highly palatable. I can have any flavor, any texture, any color, super cheap, processed food whenever I want. So in the context of modern life, you want a faster metabolism. It's the best insurance. It's better for your insulin sensitivity. It's better for burning calories, burning body fat. It gives you better mobility. It counters your sedentary lifestyle. You want a faster metabolism. Mm-hmm. And the best way to speed up your metabolism is to build muscle.
Right.
And when we look at the context of building muscle, is the paleo diet the best way to build muscle? No,
you need some carbohydrates.
That's right. Add in some starch. And by the way, individual variances are, of course, notwithstanding. But for the average person, if they can tolerate or whatever, throwing in some starches, some rice or some potato or whatever, you're going to probably build more strength and more muscle. And as a result of that, have a faster metabolism, which in the context of modern life is a wonderful insurance. And so these are all the type. This is how we need to discuss these kinds of things, I think. And resistance training is just. It's the form of exercise that people need to be getting into, and I think it needs to go mainstream.
Right.
Today's Quah is brought to you by MAPS Anabolic. If you're looking to maximize your overall muscle and strength, MAPS Anabolic is the perfect place to start. With a full 30-day money-back guarantee, there is absolutely zero risk. So what are you waiting for? Go to mindpumpmedia.com and get started today.
It's the motherfucking Quah.
Eagle has landed.
Quah.
First question is from Lindsay One Dove. Which angle for flies and presses is best for a woman who is looking to build the muscles that perk up the boobs?
Ooh.
Underboob muscles.
This reminds me of a couple studies that were actually done on a very similar topic. So did you know that wearing bras all the time, support, actually increases the sagginess?
Right. It would atrophy the muscles.
Right?
Atrophy the muscles that are responsible for holding your boobs up. Makes total sense to me.
Because it's like you're wearing something that's preventing those muscles from holding it up, so they just totally get weak. And it's like wearing a cast on your arm. It's funny. People believe the opposite for a long time, and because I think it's because of National Geographic magazines. Like they'd see women, hunter-gatherer women who are already had children, so they had saggy boobs. They'd be like, "Oh, you get them National Geographic boobs or whatever. And so women.
You think it's Nat Geo's fault?
Yeah, I do, and I think women thought that.
I think bras just make everybody's boobs look amazing
when they're on.
That's what I'm saying. So I think that's really where it comes from. But yeah, I mean, on to that point, Sal, building the upper chest.
Now, why not the lower chest?
Well, it's not that it's just that building the upper chest is going to support that more. It's not that like I would tell a client that says that. So if I had a client that specifically said that, which by the way, most of my female clients never came to me and said, I really want to build my pecs. If they ever were interested in chest exercise, it was for this exact reason. They would say, is there exercises we can do to perk the boobs up? And so much of my training for their chest would be geared around incline flies, incline presses, a lot of incline work to build that upper chest. And either one, give that kind of illusion that their boobs are sitting up higher because you're building.
You create a little bit of cleavage at the top.
Right. You create a little bit of cleavage at the top, so you create that illusion. And like you said, to support your point, you're building those muscles that help keep them from sagging.
Right, and like to go further into the support of it and like eliminate the bra in a sense by training it, and we work on like building the muscles where we get into the retracted shoulder position. And so I'm building.
Great point.
Yeah, my rhomboids and rear delts, and I'm really kind of focused on building strength and support to be able to stabilize that position of presenting the chest up.
Yeah, strengthen those mid shoulder blade muscles, right? Give you that better posture. There's also a lot of myths around. They still exist today. We still get questions like this where women are afraid to do chest exercises because they think it's going to make them lose fat. Right. From their boobs.
Yeah.
You
lose fat overall.
Yeah, spot reducing. What ends up, by the way, when you start working out and you notice your boobs are getting smaller, it's not because you're training your chest, it's because you're getting leaner overall.
Right.
And, your body tends to burn body fat from where you're genetically predisposed to do so. And for many women, the boobs is one of the first places that, for them, unfortunately, where they'll lose body fat. But you can't spot reduce. So if you train one part of your body, you're not going to burn tons of body fat from that one area that you're training. It's the systemic effect that tends to happen.
Fat does not convert into muscle, and muscle does not convert into fat.
Oh, God, that's a big one, dude.
It is.
I can't believe I still need to say that, too.
No, I know. People still believe it.
Two totally different tissues. It would be like turning, iron into gold. It's like alchemy. You can't. Two totally different, tissues.
People have tried over centuries.
Yeah, they did. They spent a lot of time and money on that. But yeah, when you work out the muscles of the chest, because they tighten up and strengthen, they will pull things up higher. Also, when you develop the upper chest, like we talked about earlier, you kind of get a little bit of that cleavage in the middle as the pec muscles. And here's the thing, like imagine the opposite, right? Imagine a woman with boobs who has no chest muscles whatsoever. So what you see in the upper chest is like a little bit of ribs and then boobs. It's going to give the appearance of more of a sag because it's super skinny and then boobs at the bottom. When you build up the pecs, besides the fact that those muscles lift up the boobs a little bit anyway, because you have a little bit of that cleavage at the top now because there's some muscle, the illusion now appears that your boobs start higher rather than starting lower. Right. So upper chest is something that you definitely want to do. And, very few people will I not work out a particular part of the body. The only time I didn't train chest in women was when women had breast augmentation and it had caused them to have such bad forward shoulder that we would stay away from
Which is really common. It's actually really common. I dated a girl who had breast implants, and she had really bad forward shoulder, and that's all of her training. In fact, Justin trained her for a while. All of her training was geared around her back and retracting and getting it back, and like we did very little stuff very little pressing in front of her.
Yeah, because when they put the implants in, it's under the muscle typically, which pulls the pec muscles forward, so essentially making them tighter, which then pulls the shoulders forward. And of course, after augmentation, right after the surgery, they put you in this very constrictive bra that you have to wear all the time for weeks in the beginning, which is enough time to change how you hold your body and your recruitment patterns. And then after that, many women are encouraged to wear this restrictive bra every night because it encourages the implants to settle rather than rise up in the chest, which is one of the problems with implants. Sometimes they'll come up and then women are unhappy. And so these bras are literally designed to pull your shoulders forward. to keep everything tight forward. So you end up with this really bad forward shoulder issue, which you then usually takes me months to correct. And frozen shoulder goes up quite a bit in this population. But I will say this too: we're talking about incline, but it's also a good idea to do high incline exercises. So typical incline, what's the degrees of incline on a regular incline? 45?
45
typically. Yeah.
So I even have women do 55 degree incline where, some
Close
benches
to like military press.
No, it's in between,
It's in
right?
between
So like
that,
it's in between military and in between incline. So it's a little higher to really hit those upper pec muscles up by the collarbone and to get a really good range of motion. And when you're doing an incline press, I've seen a lot of people do this mistake. When you're doing incline press, when you do a regular bench press, we teach you to tuck your elbows a little bit, keep your chest high, pin your shoulders down and back. And so the bar tends to come down to maybe right above nipple length or maybe right at nipple length. So your elbow's a little bit tucked. When you're at an incline, you actually want your elbows to flare out more, and you want the bar to come to your collarbone area. Because I've seen people do the elbows tuck thing with an incline, and it's actually not the greatest biomechanics. It actually turns into more of a delt exercise at that point. So especially if you have a high incline, elbows out, good posture, bring it down to the collarbone, and that's going to target those really, really high muscle fibers in the upper chest.
Next question is from Kitty Olas. Do you guys have a stretching routine? If so, when do you incorporate it into your workout program?
That's our prime.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what that is.
It's weird to call it stretching anymore to me because like stretching has a different connotation for me now. I tend to just think of it as like priming my central nervous system more than anything, and so it's whatever's beneficial for me, especially for a workout. I'm going to make sure that I basically get those movements in ahead of time, so it applies, especially when I'm doing a chest day. I think my routine for that, I'm constantly, pinning my shoulders back and retracting my shoulder, and so I'll do movements with rubber bands or with a stick that's really going to promote that and really prime and fire that central nervous system to respond accordingly. So that's one of my go-tos, that and opening up my hips with a 90-90, and then, getting some lateral movement in as well for squats. Go ahead.
Have we talked about how stretching can be bad? How long has it been since we've discussed?
We've mentioned it, but I think we should probably bring it up again.
Yeah, because I think that's a common one that I didn't know for a very long time. I mean, I think I was like most other people where you did the generic basic stretches before you went into a lift. Sometimes, I remember early on as a trainer, I would send clients over to the mat to stretch before they would come work out. I mean, just not knowing any better and thinking that I was helping them and doing the right thing and stretching muscles that were tight. And that was my idea and theory. But, later on and really understanding the science behind that, like that's not an ideal time to be stretching somebody, especially when you're doing deep holds for 30 seconds or longer.
You could hurt yourself just by stretching. And, there is an optimal length tension relationship that's established. You need certain muscles to be tight and ready to respond accordingly with that. So it's like the common thought of just trying to open up and stretch to like the length for your entire body is flawed.
Yeah, I just to put it in layman's terms, okay, if you stretch really, really well, static stretching, so old school, hold your, touch your toes, hold the stretch, or get into the splits, hold the stretch, or whatever. Before you work out, you will effectively increase your range of motion. So you will go into the workout with, maybe 2 or 3 more inches of range of motion to what you can do. Now, here's the problem with that. You don't have any strength in that range of motion. So now I go work out and I'm squatting, 2 inches deeper than I would if I didn't do those long hold type stretches. And the problem with that is, when I get into that final 2 inches, I lose stability. My body doesn't have strength in there because you can increase range of motion without increasing strength. And I think that's why, we say the connotation has changed, is because now the goal is to increase range of motion I have control over, not just increase range of motion. Range of motion you don't have control over is instability and will increase risk of injury. So if I just give you a bunch of range of motion and you go work out and you don't have any control over it and you play in that range of motion with weights, the odds that you'll hurt yourself go up dramatically. And the studies support this. When they have people do static stretches they find more muscle tears, more sprains, and more injuries versus when people do what's called a dynamic stretch or just a basic warm-up where they're just getting their body warm, or which is superior to all of those things, which is specific directed priming where you're turning on muscles in a way that allows you to have control over new ranges of motion. When you don't do those things and you go and do static stretching beforehand, you hurt yourself. Here, one of the things I like about resistance training also, and I know I sound like this huge advocate for it, but if you do resistance training properly, you're challenging your ranges of motion with the weights that you're lifting in an appropriate way. And so what I mean by that is like when I get into a squat, I happen to be pretty tight in my lower body. That's the part of my body I would say is probably the tightest. And so when I'm squatting, I'm constantly challenging my range of motion with control. So I'll get into my squat, I'll go down as deep as I can where I feel like I have control over, and then I'll come up, and then I'll go down as deep as I can with control and go up. By the time I get to my second, third, and fourth set, I've increased my range of motion throughout the sets, but each time I'm doing it with control, and I'm doing it by increasing strength.
You're gauging it so you could actually feel the threshold.
That's right.
Of where it drops.
That's right. And so I'm now it's like I'm effectively stretching, but I'm doing it in a way where and when I do this, by the way, I'm not challenging the weight that I'm lifting. So it's not like I'm maxing out and I'm pushing range of motion. I'm literally going, I'm going lighter, and then I'm challenging range of motion as I do my sets, and it's effectively a better way of stretching. It's a more basic way of stretching than priming, but it is still more effective than the static way.
Right.
Ideally, what you want to do is you want to prime. So, what does that look like? Here's a good example. So let's say you're going to do some chest exercises, and you have forward shoulder where your shoulders kind of roll forward and maybe they shrug a little bit, so you tend to get tight in the upper neck area, and maybe your shoulders tend to bother you sometimes when you work out your chest. So what I'm going to want to do in that situation is I'm going to want to activate and connect to the muscles that oppose that position. So I'm going to try and activate the muscles of my mid-back, the muscles that pull the shoulders back and down. Now, when I activate them, does it make them temporarily stronger? Not necessarily. What it's really doing is it's helping me feel and connect to them. That's all it's doing, really. I mean, over time, I'm going to get stronger if I keep priming properly, and they're going to effectively get stronger. But in the short term, what I'm doing is, because how many times have you trained a client where like, okay, pinch your shoulders back while you're pressing? They can't even feel what the fuck that is. Mm-hmm. But if before I do the press, I get them to do, let's say, a cable row, and I stand behind them and I help them pull their shoulder back, and I help them squeeze and activate, now they know what it feels like. Now when they go to the press, they hold that position better. They do their press, opens up their shoulders, they activate the chest better, and they reduce the risk of injury in the shoulders. And that's a very basic one. You could do this with all kinds of movements. 90-90 is fantastic for helping you turn on and activate and connect to internal and external rotation in the hips, which is really important. A lot of injuries happen in the squat because someone squats and they don't have that activation, and the knees cave in, or they wobble, and boom, they tear a meniscus or hurt themselves.
Stabilize it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I have done a static stretch or foam roll in a few years now. I mean, maybe playing around, like we're just sitting there watching a show or something like that, and so I'll get down and static stretch because I'm watching a TV show or some shit, and I just feel tight. But as far as getting at the gym, getting ready for a lift or leaving a lift, like I have almost eliminated foam rolling and any sort of static stretching, and mobility has completely replaced all of that. And I mean, you think of a move like one of my favorites is a lizard with rotation, and talk about a great move for both upper and lower body. I mean, you're opening up your hips when you're in the lizard position. The rotation opens up the thoracic region.
That T-spine rotation, everything.
You get everything. It's such a great move that really wakes up all these muscles that Sal's talking about that are what we call underactive, right? You just stop using them, so you lose kind of this connection to it. And that's all you're doing is you're getting reconnected with these muscles that are responsible for holding yourself in the right position when you go to do these compound lifts and movements. So, I have go-tos, like lizard with rotation, the 90-90, our zone 1 test from our prime. I literally just repeat the test. I mean, that's a big one for me. Those are probably my 3 And then in combat, because my ankle mobility, that's always a limiting factor for me. If I'm not squatting or doing any leg stuff, I'll probably skip that. But if I'm doing a full body routine or I'm training legs that day at 100% I'm addressing ankle mobility, hip mobility, shoulder mobility, and thoracic mobility.
And the more specific you get with that process, like you've identified those things based off of how your body performs in those movements. And so that's why it was so important for us to create a sort of a testing protocol for that. So, having 3 different movements that sort of address a lot of those issues, and you could see them visibly, or you could feel them, not being able to, rotate in a certain direction or bring your shoulders back a certain way. These are things to pay attention to, and then understand that if I do these other specific priming stretches, if you will, they will contribute to your overall performance tenfold.
It will, and I still do some static stretching, but I do it by itself. And I don't do it the old school way. So what I mean by that is, first of all, I don't do it before I work out. Sometimes I do it after I work out, but that's totally different. That's because, there's some evidence that shows that statically stretching a pumped or worked out muscle may increase the anabolic signal that we send. In fact, in MAPS Prime, our post-primer sessions, that's where we have static stretches.
Right.
Is at the end of the workout.
Well, even then, we're trying to intensify those poses.
That's right. That's right.
So we're trying to solidify the signal.
So the way I do static stretches now is I will loosen up, and then I will get in a long stretch and hold it for 30 seconds or 60 seconds. But then at the end, when I have the new range of motion, as I'm holding the stretch, the new range of motion, I activate the muscle I'm stretching, and I activate the opposing muscles, and I activate the muscle. So I literally do reps of intrinsic tension in the new range of motion, very carefully, of course, because I'm in a compromised position, just so I can connect my CNS to that new range of motion. It's far more effective than just stretching.
Why we're talking about Prime, because I was just talking to my cousin the other day who is part of our marketing team, and I was telling him how I think that the most important program that we ever created was Prime, and it's unfortunate that it's not our number one seller, because if you were to ask any of us, what do you think everybody should have, I think we would all agree that Prime is definitely the true foundation. I mean, MAPS Anabolic is the foundation to our strength training, but before you would even get into a strength training program with anybody, you would take them through a Prime test and assess them. And so if you're somebody asking this question, I challenge you to buy the program. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but you have a 30-day money-back guarantee on all of our programs. If you buy Prime and you take yourself through the test, and then you start applying the mobility drills and the priming exercises that we give you that are specifically for you, because you could take a test and then it has a compass that points you in the direction of the movements you should be doing, and you don't feel a significant difference within the first workout or two, return the fucking thing. I guarantee you it's one of those things that if you just apply it, you will feel the difference the first workout that you do it, and then after that you're normally bought into the idea that it's something that you should be doing on a regular basis.
Next question is John Wayne Cowboy. If you guys were invited to go on Rogan to debate how to properly work out for different goals, who would you ideally go up against? Who would make you nervous to face? And who would you love to laugh in their face?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't necessarily want to laugh in anyone's face. I would say this: if I were to
pretentious.
If I were to debate someone on workouts or fitness, I wouldn't go and debate. And this is just because I know my lane. Okay, I can talk about sports performance training and advanced training techniques, and I can discuss them and talk about them quite well. But I'm not going to go and debate an expert in those particular fields, because my expertise is in training the average person.
Well, I think that you could definitely I think we still could debate someone like that. The problem is with this question is that I honestly don't think that we would disagree with most of the experts in their field. So take, some of the smartest guys that are teaching strength training, some of the smartest guys that are teaching powerlifting, the smartest guys that are teaching sports performance. There's not a lot of things that we disagree with them. They're just speaking to a single,
very small community.
Yeah, a very small community. Now, where we would challenge them if they were to, but I don't think they would disagree with us.
Yeah.
Which is
it doesn't apply.
That doesn't apply to Jane or Joe or the average
That's what I'm
person.
saying.
Yeah.
This is for an athlete, and they're talking about performance. Therefore, this isn't for the masses. And I think that. I don't think there would be any debate anywhere.
No, you know what I would like to debate?
There's a challenge, though, that we could present.
Yep. Yeah, I would like to debate an advocate for cardio above all else. I would love.
Yeah, that would
I
work.
would love
A runner.
just a runner who just like, no, running is the best. Cardio is the best form of exercise. And I would love to debate strength training against that, and I would do that all day long.
And that's probably a type of person where we could have a really good debate back and forth. If you had somebody who's out, and I don't know anybody. Do you guys know a name of somebody who is like?
I'm sure they're out there.
And a huge running advocate, and that's all they promote is running all the time. Like whoever, if there was that person, I could see us arguing and debating that person for strength training.
Right.
But there's no experts in our field that I think. At least all the ones that I know, because you look at even like Jordan Shallow, Ben Pekulski, Matthews. I mean, you got a lot of our buddies that write their own programs, right? And they don't disagree at all with the way we do things, and we don't disagree with how they do things. It's just Ben Pekulski. Who do you think he's talking to? Yeah. He's talking to like 90% bodybuilders. And so his programming that he does is fucking brilliant. It's excellent. It's, and same thing with Jordan Shallow. Jordan Shallow is talking to a majority of power lifters, and he's absolutely brilliant. And his advice and his programming is absolutely brilliant. We're trying to address the other 90% of the world. Like that was when we started writing our programs. They were geared to. That doesn't mean we don't have people that are athletic, quote unquote. Absolutely, that we have MAPS Performance for that. That's somebody who is like, I would say like myself, who likes to play basketball every now and then and wakeboard and snowboard. And I consider myself a athletic person, but I'm not by any means a competitive football player or a competitive soccer player. Or
right. Well, and I guess. If I could debate somebody or think of reason to would be just based off of like, and I don't know if this is the case anymore, but if somebody like wholeheartedly believes that CrossFit is the best modality to get somebody ready for a specific sport that's not CrossFit.
Oh, so maybe like a Glassman.
Yeah. I don't even know if you would debate that.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think he knows that. It's like it promotes overall. Attributes in terms of like their circuit training is concerned. But, one thing I do want to say is that like this show, we're trying to present a lot of those different angles, right? So a lot of different pursuits, fitness wise, there's crossover with sports as well. And we haven't really like touched a lot of the different types of sports and like the way you specifically train for those. And so, I'm on the hunt for other coaches that like have a really detailed, methodical, program that they address like their athletes and what they put them through that's legit. And so I'm looking for that. I actually found, so if any of you have heard of Nick Curson, he's somebody I'm trying to bring on the show, Speed of Sport, that would be a great conversation because it isn't the way that we train clients. It's different, but I like to present that and show why, the reason why, and we have to all understand that there's specificity is something that we have to consider.
It's not that much more different than the way we talk about nutrition. I mean, we've had the Dom D'Agostinos on here, the Terry Walls, we even talk about even being vegan for a day or two, like, or if it works for you, that's awesome. Like, there's not a modality or a type of nutrition plan that we are advocating for and saying this is what most people should be doing. This show's never been about that, and resistance training is no different. Like, we're not saying that. I think we've never said like this program is for everyone. If you came to me and you were an NFL player, I would tell you I don't have the program for you, 100%. Like maybe Prime and Prime Pro could support a athletic geared program for an NFL football player. Like if you're already at that level, your training is so specific that we didn't want to train. We didn't want to create programs yet for that. We wanted to handle the masses first, and then you see it happening as we are continuing to release more programs. You just saw it was strong. Strong is now we're starting to narrow it down. We're starting to get into like, okay, if you've gone through some of our foundational programs that we think everybody should basically go through, and now you want to get more specific because you're more advanced and you're looking for a more niche type of program, well then yeah, the Strong would be probably the best example of something that we have like that. And it could get even more niche than that. But it didn't make sense to us as a business to do that. So there's no real experts in the field of training that we're going to get in a room with and we're going to be like, that is just wrong. Well, that's just bad. That's bad. I mean, they wouldn't, if they were, they would.
As long as like the biomechanics are sound or like the philosophy is sound in that direction.
Most of our philosophy is a collection of all those men and women. That's what it is. It's us reading all of their books over 15 plus years of experience and gathering all their knowledge and taking pieces of it and then learning to apply all of it to the average
people.
Yes.
I would like I said, I would like to be an advocate for resistance training against or versus other forms of exercise.
I think that's the only angle, really.
I would. And then there's people with look, Mark Ripto. He just wrote an article where he basically said unilateral training is a waste of time.
Did you ever get a chance to read it though?
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did read it, and he tried to make a case for it, and I think he's wrong in that particular sense.
Okay,
so I wouldn't mind debating that one particular thing where he thinks everything should be done barbell squat, deadlift, and there's very little benefit from doing a one-legged exercise.
Okay, that's it. I would argue that. I would love to argue that.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair.
And that would be a debate, but really it would be, I would love to get people from two different walks of life with working out who are very different. The yogi who says no, this is the best ultimate form of exercise, and
listen, anybody. I'm willing to debate anybody that says this is the best of anything.
Yeah, this is the only way you should be doing it.
But I'm saying in that argument, if you had to pick, which we never say you do, right? We say it's all good and you should probably do all of it. But if you absolutely had to pick one, I will debate anybody that resistance training in the context of modern life is the superior form of exercise. It's the one form of exercise everyone should do. It's not the one that everybody should only do, but it's the one form of exercise that you should do if you had to only pick one. And that's the debate that I would have all day long.
Right.
Next question is Joe Pushner. What moment did you each sit back and say, we made it? Or has that moment even happened?
Yeah, I don't even know. What would that be?
What did we make?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I know that hasn't happened yet, and I don't know what that looks like.
I do. I think there was a point for me that I felt that we had made. Well, first of all, I don't think we made it, right? But there was definitely a point where I felt like, okay, this is going to be something much bigger. Like we are on our way. When we first turned the mic on the first day, it was a dream more of, right? It was like, this is what we want to do. This is where we're hoping to go. This is what we're planning to do. There has been a feeling of, yeah, we're doing it. Maybe that's yeah, we're doing it is more the I think the phrase that I think went through my head versus we made it.
I think too, recognizing a lot of our vision, it's like actualizing our vision. So like seeing our vision actually play out within some of the events we've done and some of the feedback we've gotten from the audience, and I think that's just overall like seeing people's reaction and just seeing certain things sort of more visible. I think that makes it feel like, oh, we're making an impact at least. You know?
There's some big goals, like some major goals. Like there's one for us, and then I have my own personal ones. But I think for us, I think all of us will be happy when the common mentality surrounding fitness and health is an appropriate and proper one, which it's not right now. So the common mentality is, I'm going to beat the crap out of myself. I need to follow this crazy diet, and I'm going to try and get in shape real quick. And I hate the way I look, and I don't like my body, and all that kind of stuff. We would like to see it change. We would like to see people go to the gym because they want to take care of themselves. We'd like to see people have a very appropriate attitude with working out, where they say, okay, I'm new to this, so I want to start slow. I've educated myself, and I know that the important things I do first are correct imbalances and give myself better movement patterns. I'm going to slowly work on my nutrition because I know it's a major, major hurdle. And so we're going gradually give myself time to make small changes that stick, they're fundamental changes. I think when that happens and that's the mainstream, like that's the average person, I think that's going to be the point where Mind Pump is going to say, wow, we really helped do that. For me, when I reach a point when I can do philanthropy or nonprofit and not have to worry about earning money, at that point I'm going to sit back and be like, okay, now I can purely do what I want to do for the sake of these things that I want to do, and not have to worry about generating revenue or making money. Not that that's a bad thing, but I think at that point, if you're ever in that position where you're like, wow, okay, what do I want to do to really fulfill me, and I don't need to make money doing it, I think that's a cool position to be in.
Yeah, I'm going to change your phrase from "we made it" to "we're doing it." So, because I don't know if I'll ever say we made it. I don't know if that statement will ever come out of my mouth, or even that thought process of "we made it," because I think it will always be an ongoing journey and process. And even Sal saying that right now, I would challenge him that when he gets to that point, he'll be so energized and focused.
You're not done.
Yeah, you're not done, right? No,
I don't think we have that within us.
Right. So I think I'm going to change it to we're doing it, and I'll give you some milestones or some moments for me that I remember that were really big. And one of those was reaching #1 on iTunes. That was a major milestone of me going like, fuck yeah, we're doing it. Like when we hit the top of health and fitness, so in our space, right, we were considered #1. That was a big deal, and to see us consistently always up in the top 10 makes me say we're doing it. So that was a major moment for us as a team, or for me personally, when I felt like that, like, yeah, we're doing this. Another time was not that long ago, because as the business has scaled and grown, we've also added staff and contractors and people working for us, and so the expenses continue to go up almost as fast as the income continues to go up. And so the pressure of breaking down analytics and trying to figure out how we're going to pay for this and that, like, that's never stopped for me. Until recently, have I had moments where, and this was a big moment for me, where I actually don't even look at the numbers like that. Up until just about 3 months ago, every single day, multiple times per day, I'm looking at the revenue so I can, feel good about like where we're going. And if we're slowing down or going back the other direction, we're making changes within the business to make sure that we keep it going, because we got to keep the lights on and make sure all these people get paid. So we have reached a point now where I don't feel that pressure or stress anymore. Like we had set ourselves up to where we're in a position where everybody may not be where they want to be completely financially, but everybody is in a place where they feel secure and good. And I don't feel that stress anymore. I don't, because and this is just me, because I think of all the boys here as family. I carry the burden of making sure everybody feels good about being able to provide for their family and getting paid well and doing well and loving what they're doing. And so I think that point, we have reached that. I know that we have more goals and things that we want to go to, but when I found myself not looking at the daily revenue anymore, that was a major moment for me of like, fuck yeah, we're doing it. Because now I feel this ability now to not worry about that and to really be able to look at the things in the business that we really care about. Like you have to pay attention to the revenue because it's what pays the bills and keeps the light on. So that is extremely important, especially as you're building and scaling. But we've now done such a good job at that there's a lot of things working for us and on autopilot that now allows all of us to say, yeah, that's important, but it's no longer the #1 priority to make sure we can look at all these other parts of our business and we can take risk. We can say, hey, let's go throw $10,000 at this because we believe in it and we want to see what it will do. And we can start to make those decisions. Like once we get to that place where, we're not doing something because we can't financially do it, that was a big moment for me. And we're there right now. So, and what we just did in Tahoe was a great example of that. I mean, we made zero money from that. That cost us a fuck ton of money to do something like that, but it was something that we all believed in and we wanted to do. That's a really cool place for us to be. And for me, that's like, we're fucking doing it, you know, and I've definitely felt that lately.
Excellent. So if you go to mindpumpfree.com, you can get any one of our free guides. The most current guide that is out is how to develop amazing shoulders. Again, it's mindpumpfree.com.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.